Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This will be number 3, but it's not the second chassis, but part 3 in the series of 3 K7000 repairs here that were all sent to me in a lot of 3. This is number 2. The first one is the video right prior to this one on the channel, and the one prior to that is where I showcase all 3 of them. So this will be number 2, even though it's part 3, because part 1 was the showcase. So let's get to this. B plus pot is loose, but it appears to be all original. This cap's been replaced, but the rest of them have not. This is all original except for this cap. I can see the fuse is blown, but otherwise it's complete. Original white knob flyback, original caps, except for that one. Fuse is gone, B plus pot's loose, but it's complete. So let's look at the information tag here and see what's going on. I need to put my zip tie here to keep these from bending back and forth. I mentioned that in the last repair, in the first one in this series, because you put the zip tie here, it puts the stress point on here and not on these wires, and they don't break off. So all right, well, let's look at the back real quick. And it looks in fairly decent condition, not overly burnt. Actually, this is a very low hour K7000. It looks like D10, just like the last chassis. D10 has been removed from the board and soldered to the backside, so this must have something similar wrong with it from the last one. But you see there, that diode is supposed to be right here, across these 2 points for the shutdown pot. So someone's been troubleshooting. And it's very dirty, so we'll clean it, of course. After we're done working on it and getting it repaired, we'll clean it, and I'll show how clean it gets at the end. Well, I'd like to. I'm probably going to forget because I don't know if I'll get to this. This part here I'm recording on Saturday evening. Easy for me to say, and I have plans tonight, so I probably won't get back to it until tomorrow. So I may forget. So if I forget, you'll have to excuse me. But you just run it under the sink with really hot water and some soap. You get soapy water in a spray bottle and spray it down and let the suds kind of work their magic, and then just rinse it off with very hot water in the sink. Let it dry for 24 hours and bada bing, you're good to go. So if I don't show that, you'll have to forgive me, but that's basically the easiest way to do it. And if you have compressed air, you can compress air out all of the water, but give it 24 hours, it'll be fine. So looking at this one, yeah, D10 is on the bottom side. And that same resistor pad that's always lifted is lifted again and kind of oxidized. We'll take care of that. But overall, looks pretty good. Don't like the way this capacitor is sitting. That's better. Again, this is a factory mod. This is a mod to control the width. It's connected to the horizontal coil for the yoke connection, and it's hooked up to one leg of C38, which is the width cap. This cap has to be here. If you take this cap off of here, the image is super wide and you can't adjust it narrower in. And there's nothing you can do. You have to. This cap is a factory mod. It has to be there. So if you have a K7000 where your width is super wide and no amount of adjustment will shrink it, someone took this off. You got to put this back on. This is a 1.6 kilovolt, 1.6 kilovolt, 362GH. So get yourself one of these caps, and there you go, 362GH, 1.6 kilovolt. So yeah, if you have that issue, you got to make sure that cap's there. All right, well, let's look at the tag. Okay, Simpsons. Blows fuse, no power. I have not tested any components. Well, that corresponds to what I visually see. Real quick though, let's tighten up this B plus pot. Okay, that's good. Well, let's take our fuse out and we'll toss it in the garbage. It's definitely got some solder balls on there, or just it roasted alive. One of them's moving around inside there like a mercury switch. Okay, well, let's test our HOT. Obviously, with the white knob flyback, it's possible that the flyback was arcing. It is cracked, quite obviously. It's cracked across here. It's cracked across the side. You may not be able to see, but it's cracked across here. I don't see any burn marks from high voltage exiting the flyback. So it may not be a flyback issue. It could be any number of issues, but there's a small pinhole right here. Right there's a small little pinhole. I don't know if you can see it. It won't focus that close. There you go. There's a small little pinhole right there. And I wonder if with all this mark, I wonder if this is where the high voltage was exiting. It is cracked right here. So we'll fix what's wrong with it and leave this installed and fire it up and just see what happens, because it's not going to destroy any components. If we turn it on and it just zaps, I can turn it off immediately and it's not going to damage any components immediately. It will if you leave it on and let it arc for 30 seconds, it'll destroy something, but not initially. It should not initially destroy anything. So, yeah. Alright, so let's take a look at, I guess, our HOT first. And HOT is shorted. Now the problem here is we don't know if it's the HOT or the C36. This is an older K7000, just like the previous one, where instead of the green one, it has a blue one, but it's still the 4-leg C36. Some, like I say, some of these have a 2-leg C36 and a 2-leg C69. Those are the newer versions of the K7000. With the older ones, I bet you this is 86. Yeah, look, 1986. This is one of the very first runs of K7000s ever. 1986. So, yeah. This has the 4-leg C36. So the problem is when the HOT is shorted, you don't know if it's the HOT or C36. So we'll have to pull one of these two components out. And I guess we'll start with the HOT, because I can take the HOT out, I can remove this heatsink, which will allow me better access to C36 in case that's what's actually shorted. But in the meantime, we can test all of our other stuff to make sure nothing else is bad. We can test our voltage regulator by either going to pins 1 and 4. And that's good. If we go to ohms, it should read around 180 ohms. Yep, because it's reading through the B+ resistor. This red wire goes to pin 4. Is that 1 or 4? Yep. The red wire goes to pin 4. The blue wire goes to pin 1. So you can go across 1 and 4. And you should read 180. If you do, then the voltage regulator is not shorted. It could be open. It could be open, but it's not, because if we go back to diode setting, that's good. So that's a good reading. 0.150 for diode, and then of course 180 ohms on ohms. That's a good reading for our voltage regulator. So we're good there. C38 is our horizontal width cap. Again, it should be around 1.5 meg, somewhere around 1 point something meg ohm on the resistance reading. So it's this pad here it's this pad here that this capacitor is touched to. And then it's this other pad over here is C38. Yep, 115K? That's usually not a reading I'm used to seeing. Usually it's like 1 point something meg ohm. But I'm really not worried about it, because A, it's not shorted. That's all I'm worried about. And B, I don't know how this being shorted or this being shorted, the C36 or the HOT affects that. So as long as it's not shorted, that's all I really care about, and all you really care about is to make sure it's not shorted. So voltage regulator, C38. We can test our R89 and our R104. Should be 3.9K. Good enough. And then 15 ohms. That's good. And then our R101 should be around, sometimes they're 4.4K. Sometimes they're 6.8K, but if it's 4.4 or 6.8, that's good. And we are, yep, close enough. So in circuit, that's what it's going to read. Out of circuit, it'll read 6.8. In circuit, it's 4. Sometimes in circuit, it'll read 6.8. Different older versus newer type of thing. But if it's, as long as it's 6.8 or 4 point something, it's good. So you're just checking to make sure it doesn't read open or way out of tolerance. So that's good. This one here should be 270. That's good. Okay, we'll test R103. which is this guy here, should be 2.7 ohms, give or take. And it's these two here, 2.7 exactly, so that's good. We'll test the diodes in our bridge rectifier circuit. Good. 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 Good and good. All right. Well, let's take the HOT out and see if it's the HOT that's shorted or if it's our C36. But in the meantime, I gotta get my zip tie in here. All right. Okie dokie. I didn't want to have the desoldering station running here this whole time to make it a bit easier to speak, so we got to let it warm up here. While it's warming up, I'll go ahead and use the iron to heat the pad so we can at least still use it. Well, I say that, but my cleaner is stuck in there. I have to wait for it to heat up before I can pull this out of there. So, oh wait, I lied. Yeah, the solder needs to melt because it's stuck in there. That's why I leave this in here, so the gun doesn't get jammed up, or what's the word, clogged. Because if you put this away while it's still hot and there's solder still in here and didn't go all the way in, it'll clog it, and then trust me, you'll never get it unclogged. It's a nightmare. So I just leave this in here when I store it. But it looks like, oh, got it, okay. So it's still only at 500 degrees, needs to get about another 300. So I'm gonna go ahead and just heat it with the iron and then use the gun. These things are great. If you don't have one of these, you got to get one. All right, so there you have it. That's just that easy. No fuss, no muss, as they say. Clean it out and put it away. Okay. Now, got our screw and our nut out, and voila! Just that easy. We'll put our we'll put our insulator. God, I'm getting so old. The insulator, put that away so we don't lose it. So now let's test our pads. If our pads still read shorted, then our C36 is no good. Well, there we go. C36 has got to come out. So the easiest way to do this is going to be to work on this and repair it. I don't have any of the 4-post C36s, but I do have the 2-leg C36s, so we'll have to do the mod that I mentioned in the previous video, and I'll link it again down in the description of this one, so you don't got to go back and watch that one if you don't want to. But basically it allows you to mod the board to use a 2-leg capacitor in place of the 4-leg here. So we'll show it. It's fairly easy. Okay, well, in that case we'll have to grab this again. Oh, I just thought of something. I wonder if our HOT is actually good. Because it read shorted in circuit and it was the C36 that was actually shorted. So I wonder if this is actually good. Here's our common. It is good. Look at that. HOT is actually good. Glad I checked it. So we don't got to replace that. We can put the original back in. That's why it's important to check the component in and out of circuit. I almost forgot to do that. Alright, so let's get that out of there. Okay. Let's heat this up. Hot diggity. Okay, let's unscrew the retainer here. And all we should have to do, well, normally if the flyback's been changed, you don't get to worry about this screw because it's already gone. It screws into the top of the flyback. But in theory, all we have to do is heat this up and take this out. Now it's going to be much easier to work on this. Okay, does this just come right out? There you go. And you'll see that it's the footprint shows a 4-post 1, 2, 3, 4, one big footprint for a 4-post C36. So let's test this just to verify. And zoom back out. Okay, these two legs should always read together. The two on this side, the two on that side are always going to be shorted. We can just go ahead and do this. So that's normal. Now what you don't want to happen is this one to this one. This one to here and this one to here. That's what you don't want to be shorted. And it is dead short. Other side, yep. Oop. Yep. So that's garbage. I'm going to throw it right in the trash. See you later. Okay. Well, so now it's time to do the mod. Let me grab a couple of components here. Okay, I got a bunch of diodes. We're going to steal one of these diodes and make a jumper. Using it. So we'll cut this. There it is. And then we will cut this. Actually, let's use... Where'd that go? Alright, let's just use both sides of this thing. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to create a jumper across here. Where'd my... That's it? That's it, okay. So we got to create a jumper across these two pads here. Alright. Then we have to create a jumper across the other set of pads. Just like so. And we can come on Oh, you rat bastard. Why would I expect anything less to happen? There we go. Okay, so that can actually go down further a bit. Let's bend those. There we go. Now try and fall out. Janky bastard. Alright. There you go. Now we can cut this excess off here. Then we can take, I've got some C36s in my stash here. C36, C69, okay. Alright, so what I'm going to use here is 1.6 kilovolts, 0.0062 picofarad. And that's what this is. So what we're going to do is, just like the mod calls out, we are going to attach this to which one was it? Here. And the other end gets wrapped up under this, so we're going to hook this, put that in there, so it should end up looking something like, well, something like that in theory. If I could wrap that, there you go. So it should end up something like that. We'll have to solder this to here, of course, and the other side sticking out half the way, but so let's get this soldered in first. Ideally, you'd want to have this flatter, but that should still work. Let's do this side first, I guess. Let's. Okay, that'll hold that in place. Come back to this side. Toss some solder in here. Hold it up. Clip this off. And there we have it. I mean, ultimately you'd want to have it flat and level, but it's okay, that'll work. So that's how you do it, and that should be good to replace our 4-leg C36. And again, you can reference this down in the video description. There'll be a link as to how to do all this in written form from our friend the Gleek. So, alright, now our pads should still be good. Yep. Outstanding. And if we get our HOT back in, well, I got to put this back in first. So, actually, you know what? I think just for testing, I'm going to leave it out because this person also sent me cap kits. So I have to replace this cap, and it's, well, actually, you know, it's easier to replace it with this off, or it's also easy to replace if the flyback's out. So he sent me, you know, there's flyback in here too. So I guess since this flyback has to come out, I'll go ahead and put this back in because it's going to be just as easy to reach this cap with this out as it is with this out. So let's just put this back in. We can take it back out if we have to. It will not be a big deal. I was hoping it'd go right back in, but it doesn't look like it is. There we go. That's back in. All right. That's good. Okay. Put our screw back in. I'm not worried about that screw because it doesn't need to go back in. This is going away, and the new flyback doesn't even use that, so it has a lower profile. Let's get our HOT back in, along with our insulator. And our screw. And it's imperative to get yourself one of these things because it can hold your nut on the back side while you get your screw started. Not too tight, just a little snug, that's all you need. Solder it back in. It's so nice to work on a chassis that's doesn't have destroyed pads. I'm not always that lucky. Alright, now that that's back in, does it test good? It does. Alright, well, we checked everything else. Let's test D10 to make sure that that's still good. It should be on the top side of the board. This guy here, and it's good, a little Zener. The last time, I'm not even sure how somebody removed it because it's still got all of the glue here from all this glue right there. It's right over the hole, so I don't even know how they took it out. So we'll leave it on the bottom for now. It's in there correctly. Let's get a new fuse and we'll power it up on the tube, and if the flyback starts arcing, we'll immediately turn it down, or shut it down, turn it off, and kind of go from there. But I'm just curious to see if it'll work now. Obviously, something took out C69, and you know it's not going to fry C69 again just from a quick half-second burst of power. I'm going to turn it on, and if it zaps immediately, I'll turn it back off. It should survive. I'm not worried about it because I've actually done that before with nothing ended up happening. I'll just say that. No detrimental effects is the word I was looking for, or the phrase. We forgot to look at the pots. Sometimes the pots get damaged in shipping, or they all look okay. Neck board, oh well, see well, there we go. And I'm glad I looked. The red cutoff is broken. So we'll have to replace that. That's not a big deal. It won't affect our testing. Yeah, broken. You can still adjust it with the drive, so it still should have red, some red. But alright, so I think we're ready. We've got everything tested for the power circuit. Only thing that we found wrong was the C69, which I'm confident we've repaired. So I'll get a fuse plugged in, we'll turn it on and see if we got arcing. If not, we'll see if it powers up. So components do fail, not without necessarily something else causing it. They fail. So we may end up getting lucky and just having the C69 fail. Of course, we're still going to rebuild it and clean it, but if that's the only problem, then hey, we're already ahead of the curve. So let's get it on the tube and turn it on and see what happens. Okay, so we're all hooked up. I'm not worried about a video signal right now. I just want to see if it actually turns on. Everything is ready to go. I've double checked the anode, neck, yoke, ground, and remote board secure and installed, and we're not missing, so there's 5. So I'm going to count to 3 here, and in the words of the Hydraulic Press channel, 1, 2, 3, here we go. Dead. You know why? Take a wild guess why. Because I forgot to put the fuse in. God dang it. I get so overzealous here to test, so let me pull a fuse from this other one. Is this one good? I don't know. Give me a second here. I don't want to use that one because I don't know if it's good. That's from this third one I haven't gotten to yet. So give me 1 second here. I have fuses. Oh, that's the cap kit box. That's the wrong box. Where you at, you little bastards? There we go. Jeez. Oh, so yeah, I've actually got a couple of fuses here, so let's toss one of these in here. And sorry for the amateur work here, but like I said, every video, this is the amateur hour. So, there we go. Fuse is installed. Now let's see what happens. Let me put this away and close this up here. And I got one left, so let's leave this out just in case something happens. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's powered right up. How about that? Okay, well, let's give it a signal just for some grins here. So that way we can see how it looks before we rebuild it and then afterward. I got my blinds open. Let me turn my blinds, or close my blinds here so we get a better look. Okay, that should help. And let's get this set up here. Okay, let's turn this on, see what we get. I haven't done any adjustments, obviously, I just turned it on, so let's see. Well, once again, it looks good. The 50-60 hertz pot's way out of adjustment, but that can be fixed, no big deal, or adjusted. That looks really good, I'm amazed. Hachi Machi. Let's adjust our 50-60 hertz pot. There we go. Let's lower our vertical size. Vertical position. H position. Yeah, even the width is good. Colors are off, but of course this is not the original tube that this came from, but hey, without doing anything, it looks good. So let's do the rebuild. I kind of wish this didn't look good so we can see the afterwards of the rebuild, but we'll get all the reflow done, we'll get all the caps installed, we'll get the flyback installed, and we'll hook it back up and we'll test at that point. So it looks like C69 simply died over, it just failed. And sometimes that happens. It can fail without anything else causing it. So we got lucky, or fortunate. I got kind of a dark corner here. That's odd. I think that's probably a flyback issue. We'll see afterward. So, yep, stay tuned one moment. When I come back, I'll have all the work done. We'll show the chassis off and everything that I did to it. Then we'll hook it back up and see how it looks. Stand by. Alright, so here we are with everything done. Full cap kit installed, new flyback. I got it nice and clean. Well, as clean as it can get without completely removing all the components and scrubbing it down, because there is some, you can already tell, I mean, just from looking at it, how much cleaner it is from before. but there is some areas here, like around T2 here. I think that's T2. Yeah, T2. I mean, I can't. This is some type of gunk that I would have to remove the T2 and the resistors and everything to scrub in there and get, you know, things like that. Like I would have to remove all these components to really scrub down. So this is about as good as it's going to get, as good as I want to do, but it suffices. It's much better than it was. So I just used a spray bottle of soap and let it sit for a few minutes, and then I rinsed it off in the sink with very hot water and let it sit, and here it is. This is the result. It's nice and clean. I got the back all cleaned up as well, so it's looking good. And everything should work out just fine. I got all the reflow done. Everything that needs done has been accomplished. All of the area here that normally gets burned, like I say, this is an original chassis from 35 years ago, in 1986, and it's a very low life because it's not burned up. I mean, there's hardly any discoloration at all. It's just, I'm surprised that it's in this good a shape. So, yep, the work's all done. It's time to get it back on the tube, and we'll see how it turns out. One moment. Alright, here we are again. Everything's hooked up, ready to go. I did forget to mention that I got the red cutoff pot replaced, and I forgot to reinstall this little board until just now, so I got that. That's for a factory mod that never got incorporated. And you can see all the original parts here. We got all the old caps. We got the old, I pulled this out of the trash just so I could have it here with the rest of the parts. But we got the original white knob flyback, we got the shorted C36, we got the bad red cutoff pot, we got the D10. Oh, D10, just like the other chassis, someone had cut the legs off and they were too short to reinstall that from the top side. So I went and got another one right there. There it is. And installed it properly, so that's done. And yeah, I think that's it. We're ready to go. Anything else? I got the resistors spread apart so they don't induce heat onto each other, and I got the transistors realigned so they don't touch each other or bent over in a weird way. So everything should be ready. Let's start by turning our brightness and contrast completely down. Let's turn our flyback all the way down and then up very slightly. And let's go ahead and give it I'm assuming it's going to work, so let's go ahead and hook up our video signal. And I realize now, like I forget almost every time, I forgot to hook my power up. So let's see if I can do this one-handed here. Success. Alright, now we're ready. Alright. So, 1, 2, 3. Hot diggity. Oh, put that back. Alright. So we shouldn't have any image, and we're not going to because it's turned down. So let's turn up our flyback until we get our raster lines, and then back down until they just go away, roughly right there. And brightness and contrast accordingly. Of course, we'll have to adjust our focus, which should be about there, nice and crisp. There's that. And yeah, I'm not really going to worry about colors because it's not staying on this tube. But I mean, without doing any adjustments, it's back to as perfect as it was before. Yeah, we got the full rebuild accomplished and cleaned up, and it's back to factory fresh. And yeah, the colors do need adjusted, but like I say, it's not staying on this tube. It's going to have to be adjusted to the original tube that it came from. But there you have it, ladies and germs. Turned out perfect. I'd say another K7000 lives on, ready to live for another number of years. So I'll let it run for a couple of hours, make sure nothing blows up. Otherwise, yeah, I'll consider it a successful repair. Thanks for watching. Still kind of have this black area in the corner, but it could be the tube. I know it's not the chassis. This is an older tube that I haven't rejuvenated yet, so that's just for my testing purposes. But yeah, oh, it's a bit too tall. But it doesn't ultimately matter because, like I say, it's not staying on this tube. It's no big deal. Oh, let's hold, not position. There we go. Okay. Well, there it is. Hope you learned something, and stay tuned for the third and final chassis in this series of 3, which will be part 4 in the series. And yeah, hope you learned something. Hope it helps you out, and I appreciate you watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you want, and we'll see you on the next one.